Hello everyone, and welcome back to Inside ArtScroll, where the books you read and the people who write them come to life. Today we are joined by Nachi Gordon, founder of Meaningful Minute and the author of Meaningful Minute, a book published by ArtScroll several years ago. Thank you, Nachi, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's quite a treat. I know this is kind of a little different for you.
I feel like I'm in the hot seat right now.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat.
I'm nervous.
Nachi's usually used to doing the interviews.
Yes, yes.
But over here we want to learn a little more about what you do.
Of course.
Now let's start with the book. The book came out a few years ago. It was adapted from your Meaningful Minute video clips. Tell us a little about the book, and before we get into the specifics of Meaningful Minute, for those few people who never heard of it, tell people what you do.
So as it pertains to the book, Meaningful Minute, the organization that cuts up content and sends it out via WhatsApp, started in 2017, not too long ago. Feels like a long time ago, but it's not too long ago. And we, Baruch Hashem, quickly, created a large audience. At that point, we were sending out our videos via WhatsApp and Instagram to over 25,000 people. I was in Camp Monk in the summers, and I went over to, Gedaliah Zlotitz for many years, Rep Gedaliah Zlotitz for many years. And Surly Besser had visited the grounds one day, and we just, Rep Gedaliah had mentioned the idea of a Meaningful Minute book, and we had a meeting, us three, and we decided to run with it, to sort of take these videos that people are watching and loving throughout their day and putting it in word, in print, where they can just read short ideas and concepts and just think about them, discuss them, walk away with concrete, solid pointers. So we released this book, I believe it was in 2019. I don't know for sure, but I think it was around that time. And it's one of the proud moments of my life, being able to...
No, it's amazing. A beautiful book with beautiful quotes and inspiration. Now, 2017, we're doing this conversation in 2022. It's 5 years. You went from having an idea to take small video clips and send it out. And today, you have a tremendous following of literally tens of thousands of people all over the world who you reach. How did you go from concept to reality to reaching so many people?
Yeah, so Baruch Hashem, the following is there. I think it was, honestly, I started Meaningful Minute as a hobby. It's something that I felt like I would enjoy myself. So it started like that, and it began to snowball, and we went from focused on creating those minute clips to making a few events in different cities, done really, really nicely, bringing in top speakers. We then decided, let's sort of create our own platform, our own app. We went ahead and did that, and to date the app has around 30,000 downloads, and our mobile app serves as a social media that's dedicated to Torah thoughts and ideas and just meaningful content overall. Whereas if you look at Twitter or Instagram or other social media platforms, it's filled with not meaningful content most of the time. Mm-hmm. Our platform gives rabbis and speakers and male speakers, female speakers the ability to use social media in a safe way and reach an audience in a safe space, but has that still social media feel and vibe, where they're posting in real time, they're interacting with people who are following them. So that was sort of another idea that we had. Moshe Majeski is one of the people who's very involved in getting behind that project. And from there, I started the Meaningful People podcast, where we interview different personalities each week, which Baruch Hashem is one of the top podcasts in Judaism. We have over 70 episodes, I believe, that are out already, mm-hmm. and it gets around 35 to 40,000 downloads and views each week. So, wow. And then off of that, we pivoted and we transitioned to be Meaningful Minute with a rebrand, with a new logo, with office space, with a staff of 7 employees, focused on creating meaningful content in whatever form that may be. That could be in a form of a vlog, it could be a podcast, it could be a documentary, a film that we have coming out shortly with Shlomi Zion.
You say create content, and that's your goal. If you don't mind me asking, are you a business? Are you a nonprofit?
So Meaningful
Are
Minute,
you a stock organization? What are you?
So Meaningful Minute is a 501c3. We're a nonprofit organization. Okay. At our core, we operate like a business. We take our goals and our missions very seriously, and we have plans on how to execute them. You know, we have project managers, graphic designers, social media managers. It's incredive. We have just like ArtScroll, Meaningful Minute has an amazing team that I'm able to sit here, and there's so much that's being done from our social media manager that I just got the stats earlier today. In the past 2 weeks, we reached 2.6 million people on Instagram alone. That's just one platform alone.
The unique people, 2.6 million unique people?
And that's on Instagram alone. And the platform has continued to grow. You know, WhatsApp is very popular, WhatsApp status, WhatsApp broadcast. And we're just trying to keep up with the demand. But we are a nonprofit organization. We are funded by thousands of our users. And
you solicit donations from the users? Are you actively fundraising?
We will reach out. Our fundraising is a little bit different than probably the typical organization. I think most organizations are probably 80% big money, 20% crowdfund.
Mm-hmm.
Meaningful Minute really is, I would say, 95% crowdfund, 5% big money donations. So, which is an amazing thing to see, is that in the past year, we've had over 3,000 people donate. And that could be anywhere from $50 to $100 to $18. But we have a large, loyal base of people that love, what we're doing, that see the service that we've created, and are interested in seeing it grow and grow every single day.
Now, the cynics might say, Meaningful Minute sounds like a nice idea, but it's a bite-sized piece of inspiration. Is that something that could really change people? Is it something that could have a lasting impact on people who learn Musar for years and years and years to change one midah, to make some kind of change in their life that will be meaningful? And over here, you're kind of packaging it in a minute. Do you ever hear from cynics who say, there's not really much here?
So, perhaps in the beginning that was, what we were doing was foreign to the market. So it could be in the beginning that was an idea. But I think now our philosophy and our mission is that it starts with a minute. We all have, I think 1,440 minutes in our day. And you spend your time doing all sorts of things. And if you could just take 60 seconds to watch some sort of clip that we send out, that we carefully curate and are making sure it's hitting that spot for you, ultimately it'll lead to more inspiration and more motivation for you to take in the other content which you're creating, which is more than a minute. Mm-hmm. It starts with a minute. Rabbi Akiva, the drops of the rock, Imagine watching 60 seconds every single day for 4 years. It'd make an impact. It has made an impact. If it didn't, we probably wouldn't still be doing what we're doing.
Right. Have you heard real stories from people who say, I watched something, I read something, I saw an interview, and it made a colossal impact on their lives?
100%. I think one of the biggest impacts that had on me, because again, Meaningful Minute for me was a hobby for a stretch of time, probably for the first 7 months, 8 months that I was doing it.
And you got married after you came up with the idea, right?
Yeah, I got married around probably a year or so.
A year in.
After the launch.
And your wife was on board with the project?
Yeah, she loved it. She's actually probably one of the only people who didn't really know about it before we had started dating.
And you still married her?
Of course, that's why. If I care. So I was reading an issue of Mishpacha magazine, and Surly Best had written a cover story about Avrami Klein and his daughter Malki, who passed away, Alav Shalom. And by Shiva, Avrami writes how there was a lot of noise, a lot of people saying a lot of different things, and there was a lot of chaos. He had just lost his daughter, and a clip came to him, which he would watch every single day for Meaningful Minute. And this one was a video of Manas Riemann, and it gave him the words and the chizuk to sort of fortify and speak out about the issues that he thinks exist and how we can better address them. Mm-hmm. And when I read that, again, this is something I was doing as a hobby. I was not yet married then or engaged. I was a young it's called kid, and I was like, wow, like this could actually make an impact, and it does make an impact. I get messages every single day of people saying that the minutes themselves, the podcasts, the app, the short videos that we are putting out, just really attacking and working with Jewish media, Torah content, taking the technological concepts and ideas and advances that existed in society and implementing it in the frum world and the Jewish world. Gone are the days where we need to, like, look where we're sitting right now. This is this is beautiful. ArtScroll gets it, but gone are those days where we need to be creating low quality. We can do so much more.
You've definitely raised the bar.
I hope so. I hope so. And since we've started, there's many others have started, and I love it. I love seeing it. I consider this just the beginning for myself, for Meaningful Minute, for my organization. I think there's so much that we're working on. I have many meetings throughout my day, just discussing different projects that we're working on, and I always discuss with different donors and people who are involved that, Admei Esrim, we're going to come up to Hashem, or Hashem's going to look at us and he's say, well, if you look to your right, there's 100,000 Jews that were from, but you could have, they were waiting for their spark to be a little bit brighter. If you look to your left, you'll see millions of Jews that never saw anything Jewish in their entire lives. And if you would have just used what I created, he created all these platforms for what? For what? So it could be used for the narishkeit that it's used for generally. I mean, what if Hashem says to us, well, why didn't you take those technology that existed, and those possibilities, and reach these millions of people? Millions of Jews are not seeing the Aleph Beis. They're not seeing anything of Jewish content. And if you could reach them just with a little bit, you never know what could light their spark.
Now, your videos are all very, very positive. It's telling people really how great they are, the abilities that they have, the possibilities that are out there. It's a nonstop flow of positivity. There's not a lot of discussion as far as what I've seen, and you'll forgive me for, again, going the cynic route. There's not such a discussion of schar v'oinish and about so much about accountability. It's less of that and more of the positive. You ever get people who say to you, Nachi, maybe it's time to up it a little and, tell people that, the world is here for a reason. We're all here for a purpose, and we're ultimately going to be held accountable. It's not always hunky-dory. Not everything is just fluff and positivity. You ever get that?
So there are definitely people who want more and require more, and I hope in some capacity we are creating more content that can, fill that need and that void. I think overall there's this new trend, and it's not that old, that people need to be told that you have a lot of intrinsic value. And I think you could ask any therapist that's operating with a practice, and we can sit here and say, well, we've said it enough already, and people know it already, but I don't think people do know it. And if they don't know, maybe they do know it, but maybe they don't feel it. So if we can talk to their emotions and create content that is finding different ways to get across these messages, I think that's what we do. I think there are times where we will get a little stronger with our messages. Times of introspection, times that are on the heels of tragedy. Something that's special about the actual minute aspect of Meaningful Minute is that we're there every single day, 7 days a week. Motzei Shabbos, Friday, every day we're going to send you a clip. And a lot of them will pertain to what's going on in the world at that time, whether it's Meron, whether it's what's happening in ArtScroll.
Surfside.
Yeah, we're living here in this world. We have our head, not in the sand. We see what's going on, and we try to, sort of create those messages that will speak to you, will speak to the people, and we're not pretending that things aren't going on in the world. We're not pretending that, these aren't. There are certain things that aren't challenges. So, we as it pertains to the actual minute, we definitely try to stay positive. We just launched this new podcast, Deep Meaningful Conversations, with Alex Flexer and Rifki Silver, both very accomplished women from Cleveland. And they put out an episode. Their first episode they put out with us was titled "Vulnerability and Oversharing." And a lot that was discussed is, when are you sharing too much? Take social media, for example. What's the concept of maybe I shouldn't show this, or maybe I shouldn't share this? So we're trying to, as an organization, give across important messages from a Torah aspect, from a Torah lifestyle aspect, that can have people just use their brain and think that, well, maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I shouldn't say this, or maybe I should do this, or maybe I should say this. But whatever we're putting out there is with the hopes of somebody having that knowledge and that education and a different perspective and that nuance, which I think is super important
Now,
nowadays.
speaking of having standards, which is what you're alluding to, how do you decide through all your platforms and your writings and you have a wonderful weekly newsletter you put out as well, how do you decide who qualifies to send out a message? I mean, maybe when you started, you took from whoever you could because you were just kind of getting your message out there. But now that you're an established entity, what's your standard as to which man or woman or child or whoever qualifies to send out messages of chizuk? Or is it really just anyone who has a phone who could record themselves and could say something coherent that now you're giving them a platform to send their message out?
Right. So it's certainly not the latter. It's not everybody can just send a message. We are careful with who we collaborate with as it comes to our app, our Instagram, our WhatsApp, our podcast, whatever it may be. We're very careful. We want to make sure it's somebody that we feel can speak to the needs and the wants of people today. It's people who are in line with the values and the standards that Meaningful Minute has in terms of production, and of course in terms of content.
Who established those standards?
So I have guidance from my Rebbe. His name is Rabbi Pinchas Weinberger. I speak to him all the time, constantly asking shilas, making sure that I myself am staying within certain boundaries and certain lines. So it's very easy, especially the way we're positioned on social media. On Instagram, we have over 40,000 followers.
Right.
We have videos that have over 80, 90,000 views. So things happen in the world, and we want to sort of chime in from a meaningful perspective. But some things maybe we shouldn't be chiming in on. Maybe
I was going to say, maybe because you're reaching out to so many people, sometimes there's almost this Yetzer Hara to dilute what you're putting out there because you want it to be Shavuot L'Chol Nefesh. You want it to be something that such a wide range of people could associate with. Sometimes when you're targeting a certain audience, so then you
right,
limit
so
yourself.
We have a very diverse audience.
Right.
We have from the very modern Orthodox to borderline, maybe from not from, to very very yeshivish and Hasidish.
Right.
Shocked. I was by a Shabbaton recently. That was you were there as well, and there was many Hasidim. I was blown away by how many Hasidim consume the content that Meaningful Minute puts out. So we walk a fine line, and we set with a lot of siyata d'shmaya. Every decision that we make is having in mind of obviously focused on positivity. And I don't mean telling everyone that they're amazing all the time, but focusing on positivity, not trying to cancel anybody, not trying to call anybody out for shortcomings. Always trying to look at the silver lining, and at the same time, we do have discussions and conversations that need to be had. On the Meaningful People podcast, we have discussions about domestic violence and things like that, which we just offer, again, knowledge, perspective, and an insight into certain ideas and concepts that maybe haven't been spoken enough about, certainly not on a larger stage. Baruch Hashem, I'm very blessed to be able to have been gifted from Hashem this platform, this stage,
Sure.
and I don't take that lightly. And I'm not perfect with the decisions either. There have been times where maybe I have decided maybe let's do this and let's do that, and I'll second guess and I'll think, what, maybe that wasn't the smartest move. Maybe taking a stance on this isn't the best. But nobody's perfect. It's a learning experience. But we are just when I say we, it's my staff. I'm one man, but one man can't do the work that needs to be done for the hundreds of thousands of people that we reach.
Now, Meaningful People podcast you mentioned, which so many people enjoy. You mentioned tens of thousands of people watching. One thing that I wanted to ask you about is on this program, Inside ArtScroll, since we started, I've gotten mixed messages from people as far as the length of the episode. Some people tell me, I love when it's long, you really get into the kishkis of the interviewee, I want more. And other people tell me, if it's longer than 20 minutes, I don't have the zitzfleisch. Your Meaningful People podcast episodes are generally over an hour and sometimes well over an hour.
Yes.
What's your feedback from people as far as, especially the dichotomy of the fact that you're also the Meaningful Minute person?
Yeah.
So you got people who have patience for a minute, and then you have people who are somehow making it through over an hour. What's the feedback you get from people as far as their stamina and their ability to sit through such lengthy conversations?
Right. So my general rule when it comes to length of content is that if it is thrilling, if it's exciting, if it's good content, people will watch. You never had somebody, watch their favorite movie and say, yeah, but it was too long. They'll watch 2 more hours of it if it's incredible. They love it because it's amazing content. There are scenarios and topics that probably are, better done with brevity and just more to the point. And I find that the less fluff and the less warm up and landing of podcasts or speeches, the better.
You'd rather dive right into the conversation and get
more or less.
Okay.
Dive right in. Make sure big thing I always discuss with my team is ROI. What's the return on our users' investment when they're watching this clip? So as if it's a 60-second clip, their ROI needs to be like at least more than 40 seconds. There can't be, just 17 seconds of a 60-second clip that really brings out the point. If you take an hour video, what's the ROI? And how much of it is just leading up to a point?
Right.
It's important to lead up to a point. I don't think it's possible to have 60 minutes of heavy hitting stuff. But you need to make sure the majority of what you're putting out there is exciting and it's something that the viewer wants to see. I know YouTube, their metrics work in a way that they see how long people are watching videos for. If you're watching a video for a long time, your page will end up doing better because
Now, to count as a click on YouTube, I'm not an expert at this
Right.
at all. What do you need to watch? Like 30? Is it 30 seconds of a video for it to count as a view?
I don't know the exact time, but you definitely do need to be watching it for a specific amount of time. It's the same way on Instagram, same way on my app. You have to be watching a video for at least a few seconds for it to register as you actually viewed it.
Do you get any pushback from people that because you're on YouTube, Instagram, and these various social media platforms that you're kind of pushing people towards technology, and when there's such an effort out there, especially in the frum world, to protect our machane from unnecessary exposure to these things? Do you hear that from people?
Not really. I think the people who are for us and want to consume the content we put out, they're holding in that dark.
They're in that atmosphere.
They're in their
anyway.
atmosphere. We do have, again, the Meaningful Minute app is a kosher app. It's not, you don't have to be on YouTube.
And it's self-contained. You don't have to link to anything
You don't
else.
have to go anywhere. You don't have to go on the internet. It's self-contained. So we do have that option. Recently, we put our Meaningful People podcast, and we're beginning to put some of the other Meaningful Minute podcasts on phone hotlines as well, so people can access.
Wow.
But by and large, for the most part, we don't have that issue. Meaningful Minute is tackling the social media world and offering a place on social media for the people who are there, which is hundreds of thousands of Jews, to be able to take in meaningful content, to be able to learn something. They're there, so why not? Let's reach them. Any
of the interviews that you did were particularly meaningful? They're all meaningful, but any of them stand out to you, or that you heard from people, wow, that was a game changer?
It's a good question, and
I know you don't want to insult any guest here.
I should have an answer by now for this question. It's been asked quite a few times. I think an interview that sticks out to me as, and it was, I would say, maybe early on in this quest of meaningful people, was the talk we did with Rabbi Shlomo and Chani Bachner of Bonei Olam. To be able to meet people, to see
they're incredible people,
the strength that they had, to not have children, to speak about that struggle, but in that moment in that pain that they went through, to decide that they're going to help other couples whichever way possible. It's incredible. Over 9,000 babies have been born because of Bonei Olam.
Wow.
9,000 babies, and from those babies, how many kids and grandkids? We're Mitzvah Shem millions. That's a crazy idea, and to be able to sit and speak with people who did that, they took pain, they took, arguably one of the worst cards that anyone could ever be dealt, and they turned it into lemonade, the sweetest form of lemonade. They turned it into such light. I personally believe when Mashiach comes, we'll be walking in behind the Bachners. What they've done is just unbelievable. So for me, on a personal level, to sit down and to just there are a few interviews that I had out-of-body experiences where I would just forget about the mic, forget about the cameras, forget about everything that's going on, but to just focus in on what's being said, and that was one of them. That was one of them, to really just hear their story and see the impact they had. Another one was Zusha. I don't know, Shlomo Ari Gazen, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
They're just real people. They're just real Yidden, and I just really enjoyed sitting down with them. Obviously, don't want to insult anybody. Dr. Benji Epstein, discussing mindfulness. There's so many great episodes. You know, when I set out to do Meaningful People, the idea was to sit down with these personalities that we feature a lot on Meaningful Minute, and to just get behind the scenes. I was by a couple of Meaningful Minute events that I've made in Brooklyn and the Five Towns, and I would see afterwards there's a line of 40, 50 girls waiting to say 2 words to Charlie or Ari or Rav Gav and just say thank you, or to Huawei Jacobson. And it clicked, like, we need to make these people more accessible. We need people to understand their story. And that was sort of the inception. And I'm so happy that it grew to where it's been now, and I'm very happy for what the future holds.
Well, Baruch Hashem, you've done an amazing job. You've taken a dream and you've brought it to fruition. And it sounds from what you said before that you're really only getting warmed up. You're just getting started.
Yeah.
You have more ideas, and you're using your creativity to spread positive messages, to spread messages about Hashem, about mitzvahs, about avodas Hashem. So I just want to wish my humble bracha. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring people. You're doing a wonderful job. And Klal Yisrael will continue to benefit from your creativity.
Oh man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm very humbled to be in this studio. This is special. And I can only hope to do 1% of the work that ArtScroll does and the work that you're doing here. I view you guys, you tzaddikim here at ArtScroll as role models, and I appreciate what you're doing for Klal Yisrael.
Thank you so much.